This is nothing but that sports talk. Okay, on to another topic. Well, on to another topic, which is literally the most important topic of the day. Brittney Griner is released from Russian prison. Thoughts?
Oh, thank God, about time. Still had to do an exchange, but thank God, it's about time she's, the whole situation is just, good that she's finally back, good and safe, and she can, relax and get her mind right and take some time to herself and get, accustomed, get back to everything again. And then, if she's up for it later on, basketball's there, she want to play, she can play, but, she should take all the time that she wants. And, good that that situation is rectified and, she's back here in the United States of America where she feels comfortable and should be.
Yeah, unfortunately, they had to do like a little prison swipe, as you mentioned, with this
Right.
guy that now got arrested for army drugs. Well, got arrested for like having being armed all the time or something like that. But what I can tell you is it had to get done. I mean,
Yes.
it's important not just to sports, but to American society in general. And all I gotta say is, BG, I'm glad you're back. The world has your back,
100%.
and all the support that we have for you literally paid off a lot sooner than expected. You didn't have to serve the 9 years. You didn't have to in that Russian prison because, man, all I can, I mean, I'm not even gonna tell you don't do drugs because you probably know not to do drugs, or even if you do drugs, don't take it to Russia or don't even go to Russia
Right.
ever again after that situation. Because obviously, if I'm Brittney Griner, I'm never going back after that situation. That's not even.
Right. You see, one thing we have to remember is that still should have never went down like that with Brit, whatever. But one thing we got to remember: listen, marijuana is a drug that is used by many people in the stratosphere now. The society and things are changed. The problem is just that you don't want to be carrying that, bringing it back and forth from Russia, United States, or whatever the case may be. That's where the discrepancy came. We have to remind ourselves that whether naturally born Americans or come here and you're now become an American citizen, when we go to other countries, especially countries that we've had discrepancies with in the past, or that we're not, we can visit anywhere, but we're not admired everywhere there per se. You just have to tread lightly on the things that you do. You could listen, you could go to Russia and smoke marijuana. Of course you can, even though their rules are different in regards to, listen, it's a communist, and we're not going to get into politics, but Russia's a communist place, right? So with the rules and certain things that they do are stricter things for certain different things. Everybody's societies run different. Some people who like it stay. Some people don't like it, they leave. They rebel. It is what it is. You know what I mean? Whatever the case may be, um, the problem was that you can go there and smoke marijuana and do whatever the case may be. Just don't bring anything back. You know what I mean? You don't want it to be that situation where you get crap out of luck. I've been on trips with guys. This is no joke since we're talking candid. And we go to Canada, like we just going to visit for Carabana and for Carnival, and guys would be like, "Oh, let's bring." I said, "Listen, we ain't bringing nothing back. You know what I mean? We don't want to be the one that gets stopped when they're very strict at the border for a couple little joints. It just doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? So you have all your fun, you do it there, and then when you come back, so you can come back safe, you come back with nothing. What you do there, you leave it there. And with that being said, Jake, with that being said, that happened. They should have, had her, you know, come back a long time ago. But she just got to make a better decision than that because you're not always viewed the best when we leave out of this country, bro. Even as New Yorkers, let's go to a smaller aspect. As a New Yorker, when you leave the state or the city and you go somewhere else, it's so crazy. We're admired, and I don't want to say feared. We're not feared, but people are cognizant. If you're in a room and it's a person from New York and a person from Chicago and a person from Montana, and a person from Oregon, and a person from Jersey, one person from Atlanta, and a person, or Georgia per se, and a person from Texas. Even though everybody in the room is going to be looking at each other, most of the people are going to look at the New Yorker. It's something about being from New York that when you go somewhere else, we're always looked at. We're either judged by our sports teams or our city or our state. So it's like, you a New Yorker? Oh, damn New Yorkers. So the same thing with going out of the country. When you're we can't go to Germany and just do what we want. Do you know that even to go to Cuba as a U.S. American, do you know how long it is the process to actually go to Cuba?
What's a day?
Cuba and the U.S. are not the greatest of friends. They run their own entity, and we do our own thing. You know, like I said, a different talking political time. But the United States have had times to try to infiltrate or antagonize Cuba, and Cuba says we're not doing that, right? With their leaders and with Fidel and no, not over here, right? They do their own thing. And all right, so y'all do your thing and we do our thing. We know how dangerous you are. You know how dangerous we are, but we just gonna leave each other alone. But we're cognizant. We know what's going on, and vice versa. But we just gonna do our own thing. So we can't go to every other people's country and just think because we're Americans and New Yorkers that things are gonna just fly. Hell no. So there are places where we're not loved.
And to piggyback what you're trying to say, you can't be a pro athlete and an American and go wherever you want and think that you're gonna get the same treatment, because not everybody watches basketball.
No, and they don't care.
I grew up with family that don't really watch basketball, but they got into it because they spend their money because they want to make sure I get the best entertainment, not just because they like basketball personally. I mean, and this comes from a guy that doesn't even do drugs or drink alcohol. There's not enough people in the world. There's not enough black men in the world that don't do that. And I plan to keep that standard for as long as I live, for every minute I bleed, especially when I'm doing shows like this. Because it's like people that don't, as long as I don't do drugs or even touch drugs or drink alcohol, I don't got to worry about, is this drug going to kill me off? Is this drug going to kill me off? I don't got to worry about any of the drug restrictions when they decided to do it in the first place. I'm not in Brittney Griner to worry about on certain restrictions I deal with when I'm going to certain states, certain cities, when taking drugs over there. I don't have to worry about that.
Well, listen,
most people come to and decide not to do drugs or drink alcohol after what we witnessed Brittney Griner go through. And it's no disrespect to people that do it. If you have your reasons, whether it's anxiety or you're just doing it because just to calm yourself down or whatever. But doing drugs, you want to stay off of that.
Listen, you and stick with your guns and your ethics. That's all. Listen, everybody has their ethics and their visions, what they stick to, and that's phenomenal. I drink cocktails. I'll sit and have a cocktail. You know, everybody's life is different. There's a time and a place for everything. You know what I mean? We're Brit. Like, I don't care if Britt would have went there and smoked 20 pounds of marijuana, but girl, just don't bring it to the airport and try to come bring it back. That's where the discrepancy happened. You know what I mean? And even though it was caused by herself, we still didn't want to see her there. Thank God that she's back. We're happy for that. But it's a learning experience. Now we are not admired everywhere else, guys. This is just the flat out truth. We're not. So because we're not admired everywhere else, we can go anywhere. Just make sure you know when you go to other people's regions, you got to play by their rules. It's their region. And same thing vice versa here. We do it. We see things so differently because we are living here and we only see our virtual of news through the United States of America. Unless you're watching CNN every day or the BBC channel, or you're going online to always stay, and we can, but not everybody, the average person, like you said, can't say that. You don't, if we could see their news and how they view us, we would understand why. And this is all over the stratosphere. There are countries that love us, there are others that do not. And because of that, we have to be cognizant and just There was when she got it. Mayweather said, I went to Russia. I've been to Russia several times. I went to vacation. I go there, have a good time. Now we know Mayweather's a trained, great boxer. He don't drink or smoke, so he would never have that discrepancy any there. But he's still a rich Black American that went to Russia. And even though, Mayweather's not LeBron or Jordan per se, even though Mayweather is super known and wealthy and famous as a boxer, I'm pretty sure they knew Mayweather in Russia, but everybody probably didn't know Mayweather in Russia. They're probably looking at it as that Negro guy that just looks like he has a lot of money.
The reason why not many people know about him because you don't watch the sport or you don't turn on the television.
Right.
That's the only excuse for not knowing about the guy.
Now, because of the region of Russia is actually very in tune with boxing, I'm pretty sure most people knew who he was. But there probably was a whole group of people that was just like, we don't know, we don't care that you're Mayweather the boxer. You're not, you know what I'm saying? There are many other, Jay-Z said he went to Russia.
Because the guy's human just like us. Obviously people think that way because he's human just like us. Just like the same way Brittney Griner is human just like us. No matter how much of a phenomenal time Brittney Griner is on the court, we have to remember that the lady is human.
Right. There's certain places
make legal mistakes, you're going to face legal trouble. All you can do is just obey the law in any country you go to.
Right. You know, we can't go to North Korea and do what we want. North Korea and America don't get along. And on top of that, they don't play around. So we go there and act stupid. You're not coming back, period. You go to Cuba and you act crazy. You ain't going to start no revolution in Cuba talking about America, America. Are you crazy? You're never going to come back. So there's certain regions you just got to just know, to tread wisely. It sounds funny. It's like you from Brooklyn. You live in Brooklyn. You can go to Park Slope, and that's not disrespecting nobody's neighbor. So I don't want nobody to see it now and say, "Oh yeah, Park." But for the most part, you can go to Sheepshead Bay and it'd be all right. You can walk downtown Brooklyn, Atlantic Avenue. You can't go to East New York and act stupid. You can't go to Brownsville and act stupid. Those are two different type of neighborhoods. You understand what I mean? You know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You different trenches. You gotta be very cognizant of where you at because that's just the environment. It is what it is.
Exactly, and exactly. I mean, you can't exactly. And you know what? I never told you this, but I once did a GD pro, but I once did some courses at Kingsborough Community College when I was younger. And to keep it short, I can't go to a college environment and act stupid and expect to be kept around and finish the semester. You can't do that because it's college. Whatever mistakes you got away with, where you got cousin slack for getting involved in conflict, for getting involved in conflicts all the time. I can't make that same mistake in college and expect to be kept around for a whole semester. I can't do that. I mean, you can have verbal altercations, but you can't have physical altercations except to keep you around. And I'm not even going to get into too many details about what happened to me, but what I can tell you is it was a good experience. It was not that great of an experience for the simple fact that it ended on the bad notes. But what I'm trying to say is, as human beings, whether you're a former athlete or somebody that's just trying to get any kind of high school education to get into college, you can't act however you want at anybody else's turf, expect them to keep you around and like you and hire you, offer you a job. It just doesn't work like that.
Doesn't work like that.
Okay, now on to another topic. Well, as you saw, the New York Knicks got revenge on the Atlanta Hawks and lost last month, and they picked up some pretty good wins. Well, they picked up some pretty good wins, and well, of course, I remember you did an Instagram story talking about how they got smoked against the Dallas Mavericks, but then they rebounded and held the Cleveland Cavaliers to 81 points and blasted the Atlanta Hawks. So, thoughts?
Man, what do you want me to say? Hooray. Stop the economy. Oh, yes. They're inconsistent. I don't know how to judge something that doesn't do something for a consistent matter of time. They've done that all year where they've had games. They played valiant against the Memphis Grizzlies. Twice and could have won, but didn't. They beat Atlanta last night. They've they beat Cleveland the other day with a win. I'm trying to remember some other quality things that they've done good things this year in certain games.
But let's not forget to the Pistons. So whatever.
Right. They've had good quality wins, and then they've had other games just like, whoa, like what the heck is going on here? But the Knicks need consistency, and if they can do what they did the last 2 nights, now let's also remember too. I mean, listen, the games go the way they are. Let's also remember too that DeJounte Murray went out in the early minutes of the Atlanta Hawks game, and he is a super key part of the Atlanta Hawks, especially offensively, because he is dynamic. Okay, now, but nevertheless, they get that win, and then the Cavaliers game. It was kind of one of those games like, yeah, it's about time. You guys play really tough and defensively good on the defensive end and get a win against Cleveland, who's kind of, beat them up a little bit the last 2 years, honestly, to say the least. So they got that game, which was good in quality, because there's been some other games on the home stretch that was just absolutely egregious. Like that Dallas game, that's horrific in the third quarter. Horrific. They played other games at home.
I'm so glad I was at the Canarsie football field around that time watching the PSAL championship. Oh yeah, speaking of Canarsie, just a quick hit. Make sure you check out my alma mater Canarsie Wolfpack. Hope they win a championship at Springfield High School all the way down in Queens.
Oh, they play Big Queens? Oh, I don't know. I got rock Queens on this one, man.
Springfield.
Gotta go with Queens, baby.
Make sure you go down. I mean, they took out Curtis in the semifinals to get to the championship round.
So where's the
Wolfpack? Okay, now to get back on topic. Well, yeah, I'm glad I was at that game and not watching the New York Knicks gave up 41 points and only scored 15 in the third quarter.
Yeah, just a bad loss. And they're still, to me, like I said, a 7 to 11 seed. The last 2 games are good. They play better ball. Brunson's been solid all year. RJ starting to get back into a better shooting rhythm. Believe it or not, Julius Randle, even with last year being a down year, Julius Randle still was giving you 19, 5, and 3. So, but he's playing actually really solid basketball right now. They got a couple really good keys that's going on with the team. I think they just need to find a defensive identity and get a little bit more tougher in situations on the defensive end as a unit. They're not going to do it individually, and just stay consistent. That's really what it is. Like you said, we'll watch these 2 games as their win, and then we'll look at the next 2 games, and they'll have 2 horrific type of losses. Hopefully not, jinxing or talking bad about them. But that's how they've kind of been all year. That's why they're, so far in the beginning stretch, that's why they're where they're at seated in the pack, because they'll have 2 impressive wins, then 3 losses, then 3 wins, then 2 out of 3, then 3 out of 4. They get a consistent thing going and keep it going. And then they have some decisions they need to make. They're stacked up with too many guards. They need to do something now. If you're going to trade Evan Fournier, trade him. We owe him a lot of money, but clearly he hasn't played in 3 weeks. He's not out. He's not in the rotation. He's not sold on him. Deal him. Cam Reddish plays well when he's in there, but for some reason, Cam Reddish and Tom Thibodeau still, it's not. I don't know. How Tom is.
Going on?
Tom Thibodeau, as much as I love him, is a really great. He's been a great coach over his career in the NBA. He was a great assistant, great defensive mind. But one thing I know about Tom, he's old school with certain things, and when he's not sold on you from jump, but even with the whole Cam Reddish deal when the Knicks did, he was never on board. So
never.
He's never sold and bought into Cam Reddish, and kudos to him for still being a professional and still, because he's young too. He could pout and act even more grouchy about this. He was phased out plenty of times, and still, when the Knicks had no choice and Tom put him in there and called his number, he performed. You know what I mean? So, but eventually he will find a home. He's another one, though, I'll say, as a Dookie, I always say this. There are certain Duke kids that I always say, you should have stayed another year. But he was in the class with RJ Barrett and Zion. So he knew they was going pro. They all going pro. You might as well go pro too, because that's going to be your best time while you're playing with all those guys to get seen and get a chance to get into the league. He could have stayed another year. He's one of those Dookies that I say that, but he didn't. And so they got to figure out what's going on with that. I hear Quickly's name in trades. I would like to keep Quickly, but if they're going to do that too, they have too many guards. We even hear Rose's name in the trade because he's not playing as much too.
Falling off the rotation, and plus he is in his contract here. So
right, so they got to figure out that with deals, but to transcend the flip back to a different point with the other one with the Dookie stuff, like if you're not like a Brandon Ingram or a Tatum, a Kyrie, a Zion, a RJ. There's certain guys like the Duke team this year. Dariq Whitehead probably would be a lottery pick coming up this year, or a top 15 pick. Maybe Kyle Flipkowski. Derek Lively will be a top 20 some pick if he goes. There's other kids on the team. It's like, bro, you got to stay. Like Jeremy Roach is like, you're not going to be. You're probably going to be a 4-year kid. There's nothing wrong with that. You still probably have opportunities. But guys like Frank Jackson, you should have stayed in school another year. Cam Reddish, you could have stayed at Duke another year. Trevor Keels, that's now on the Knicks G League team, you could have stayed in school another year. You know what I'm saying? Those kids, you guys should have did that. You're not those type of other kids, so you better make a wise choice of when you go, because now the pros are the pros, they got.
Yep, that's how it is in the pros. But you know what? It's good that the New York Knicks are still at least getting some wins, even though they're still kind of inconsistent. And literally,
good.
And they're literally, they're going to be between 7 and 11, and they're at least somewhere in those positions right now. So they got the game against the Charlotte Hornets. And, obviously, not going to be talking about this unless something crazy happens. You're probably not going to hear talk about this in the show, but yeah, all I gotta say is keep it up, Knicks.
Mm-hmm.
Just keep it up.
Keep going. Brooklyn playing better too, so
hopefully Brooklyn. Aside from the loss against the Boston Celtics, which is kind of expected because the Celtics have been hot. And look at what they did to the Phoenix Suns yesterday.
You know what? I'm glad you said that too. I got this guy, and I'm sending the link for this too. And my other guy arguing at IS8. Oh my God, some of the ideologies and the stories that I hear, I tell you, I could just faint sometimes. He was fighting with me, right? And going back and forth with me and telling me, like, all right, first things first, I'm a New Yorker. I'm never an advocate of Boston or Philadelphia, okay? But I always will call a spade a spade. If you win, you win. If you're good, you're good. I say it for that, even if I like or don't like the team, whatever, personally. So he's talking to me about the Boston Celtics, and he's like, oh, the Celtics last season, that was a flop. They weren't supposed to do that, and they got lucky, and so on and so forth. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? They went to the NBA Finals. So now he starts bringing out all those factors. Oh, they played the Nets. The Nets didn't have everybody. Ben Simmons, and the series could have such and such. Oh, they played Milwaukee. Chris Middleton got hurt. This is all facts. Chris Middleton got hurt. Chris Middleton wasn't there. They beat the Milwaukee in 7 games. They were down 3. They played Miami. Oh, such and such. They beat Miami. Miami was healthy. Oh, the Jimmy Butler. All types of excuses why they went. The year before, who did Kevin Durant play that year when he his foot was a little good? That was the Bucks.
Milwaukee Bucks.
Okay, Bucks. Okay, that one don't count. But so he starts telling me how they were lucky and they went to the finals. Now, based off what we're watching now, eye test now. Boy, I wish the Celtics, how they playing now, would have played like that in June, because they'd have kicked the Warriors. Okay, so now he's telling
but they didn't
me,
have Blake Griffin. They didn't have Malcolm Brogdon kid.
True.
So let's not forget that.
True. I won't say Blake Griffin is a big super impact, but Brogdon is, because he defends and rebounds and can play. help them
And
play
the
well at
two
the point guard.
J's will only get better year after year after year.
Right. So
Eventually, their
now,
time to be NBA champions are coming. It didn't come last year, but
hold on.
champions are coming.
Hold on. Yeah, yes, absolutely. So he says to me all that stuff, and I'm like, wow, if the Celtics would have just played well in the finals, they should be champions now. But nevertheless, they lost. Blah, blah, blah. So he's like, oh, they're lucky. He says, Tatum is not a superstar. I said, you need a drug test. And I said, we were talking about Tatum. I said, Tatum is a top 10, top 5 player in the league right now. He's a young and upcoming stud. He was the number 1 player in St. Louis coming out of high school. He went to Duke University for 1 year. He only really went to Duke because he couldn't go straight from high school to the NBA. And he played 1 year at Duke and then went to the pros. And Tatum was pretty much sensational from the start of his career. We're not going to forget that his first year there as the Celtics, Kyrie got hurt. Kyrie wasn't playing that whole year when Tatum and him were very young. They took the Cavaliers to 7 games in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Exactly.
And the kid,
and that was around the time I started my show. But yeah.
Right. Tatum dunked over LeBron. And on top of that, he was scoring 20 every game, and they were 1 game away from the finals with kids. So now we got
advantage.
Right. So now we're going to fast forward. When he says to me, I says, "You're crazy. Your TV's not working." Not only did they go to the finals this year and they almost should have won, but let's backtrack all their years. The year before that, the Celtics made a deep postseason run. I believe they lost in the 3rd round. The bubble year, they were in the 3rd round years. The bubble year too. They did their thing and had good years. The year Kyrie was there, and Kyrie got hurt. Kyrie didn't help them be successful. Those kids did that stuff on their own pretty much at the end. So you're talking about a team that's pretty much 2nd and 3rd round and now finals every single year. This kid and Brown and Tatum right now are playing on a level that's not even in the stratosphere. They're playing crazy right now. Crazy. And the Celtics are so deep that we better pray they get injuries. Because I'm telling you, it's early, but we are looking at the NBA champions. And I don't want to say nothing like that for no Boston team.
I already said that. That's the same thing we said about the 08 Celtics.
Yeah, if Tatum and Brown are playing like this offensively and defensively, the league is in trouble. The league's in a lot of trouble. A lot of trouble. And Brogdon, Blake Griffin, Marcus Smart, the kid White, Pritchard, the other, what's the Robert Williams III? They're super, they're loaded, bro.
And they don't even have to make Udoka because that suspension for there's a affair with a staff member for the Boston Celtics.
Is it hurting them? It ain't hurting. Nope. Because the coach doing a good job.
They destroyed the Phoenix Suns. Sorry, if you listen to this episode, they destroyed them. That game was over before it got started. I didn't even bother to look at the screen. I was literally on my phone when the game was on.
Unless the Sixers
40 points.
Unless the Sixers get healthy and wake up, the only team in the Eastern Conference that has any chance of doing anything with the Boston Celtics is the Milwaukee Bucks. That is it, because they have Giannis Antetokounmpo, and with the core of their guys together and Middleton, that could do something. That's the only team. No other team healthy in the Eastern Conference can beat those 2 teams. Period. I don't care what, and now I don't care what Stephen A. say, Skip A, who hey, to hey, he hey. Those are the 2 best teams in the Eastern Conference, period. Barring no injuries, that's going to be the Eastern Conference final. That's it. Brooklyn got to wake up. See, they're the other dark horse.
Well, Brooklyn, they'll technically, aside from the loss against the Boston Celtics, they literally just woke it up. I mean, I know they almost lost to Charlotte Hornets, but they literally woke it up. With hope,
they're going to have to play back. They're going to have to play and get it all together. When they get Ben back and get all together, and then
for tonight's game against the Atlanta Hawks. So you know that come back. He was just literally starting to play better before he got hurt again. So when they have it clicking, this Nets team has the potential to be the one to take out the Boston Celtics in the playoffs again, like they did in 2021.
Brooklyn had beat Boston, right? They did, right?
2021.
Yeah,
was there, remember?
Yeah, but Boston just sent them home last year.
Okay, so we're talking about two franchises that's evenly matched.
Right. But you see, one thing you said is, and we both said, is potential. See, Brooklyn has to get to that potential. And here's the other biggest thing with them. And they also need, I love the kid, Watanabe. I can't wait till he gets, I love that kid. Yeah, I love that kid.
Phenomenal shooter.
Love him. But here goes the thing. Even if they all get it together at the same time, the Brooklyn Nets will not be able to beat the Celtics or the Bucks if they don't defend. That's the biggest part where they have to get better at. They have to be able to make stops and defend, because you're not going to stop Giannis Antetokounmpo. He's going to get 40, 10, and 10. Middleton,
he's a walking 40
right,
point game scorer.
Once Middleton gets back and get his feet underneath him, you know what that guy does, and you know how they can play. So Milwaukee plays defense, though. So they're going to give it an effort to try to stop Brooklyn, even though, Brooklyn has dynamic offensive players. Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving are going to score. Okay? But Milwaukee, we can agree, is a way better defensive team than the Brooklyn Nets are, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the problem is going to be Brooklyn. I don't care how it works out. If we talk about showing months, if Brooklyn Nets do beat a Bucks or a Celtics, it's because they made very important defensive stops or played good defense the whole series. And if they don't do that, they have no chance of beating the Bucks or the Celtics.
Not to mention the health. I mean, not to mention staying healthy. Let's not forget they were without Joe Harris the most of last season. And
right. But
they were decimated with injuries and COVID protocols. That's the only reason why they regressed that far. But at least now, the Nets are starting to pick it up. They're in the 4th seed. If they can continue to build on this momentum and actually not only defeat the Atlanta Hawks, but when they had that little 4-game road trip, they get some wins on there. They're going to be tough to stop. Let's not forget, you got Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving on your roster.
Right. Yeah, the Celtics got Chase Tatum and Tatum and Jalen Brown. They're pretty good.
And to elaborate more on what I want to say, I mean, you remember you mentioned their conference finals appearance against the Cavaliers in 2018. I remember doing podcast episodes with me and my cousin Ball. You see him on the show in early episodes. I mean, we talk about. I mean, we mostly talk about from the Cavaliers perspective because it's LeBron James, but we did talk about how talented the Boston Celtics were. I gotta tell you the episode with me and Juan did that recording where we talked about.
I think I remember that one.
It's like that was like literally when I just started Nothing But That Sports Talk. Back when it was Nothing But That People Talking. I didn't, and obviously, well, you didn't know me at the time where I did that recording, but obviously, based on what you saw at that time, and now we're in the future, the Celtics right now during the Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown days, you gotta admit they've had some second round exits, but they improved a lot until last year's finals appearance against the Warriors.
Right.
And now that we're in the future, we can definitely say that we were right all along when we say that this particular duo could be the one to lead the Celtics to title number 18.
Well, let me ask you a question. All right, let's see if we can remember this. All right.
They may not be better than 2008.
Tatum's first year, right? What was Tatum's first year? 2018?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 2017.
All right. What was his first year?
2017-18. That was the first season.
Right. All right. So his first season, they were 1 game away from the finals, right?
Right.
Okay. Next season, right? 2019?
They lost to the Milwaukee Bucks. 2020, they lost to Miami.
But wait. The Bucks in the second round, right? Second round, right?
They lost to the Bucks. They ran into a much better Giannis Antetokounmpo on the Milwaukee Bucks team. That was just they were just. And then
did the Bucks go to the conference finals that 2019 year?
Yeah, they did. They lost to the Toronto Raptors.
Right, with the Kawhi Leonard. Okay, so the Celtics lost in the second round. Okay, cool. Go ahead. All right, so second round. Got it. Go ahead.
They lost to Miami in 2020. They lost to the Nets in 2021.
Miami in 2020 was the bubble, right?
Yeah, the bubble year. What is this?
That was the conference finals.
Yeah, the one where Bam Adebayo blocked Jason Tatum in game 1 at overtime. That was ridiculous.
That was Eastern Conference Finals, right?
Conference finals. What is this?
Okay, boom. Now, all right, 2021 now. Go ahead.
2021, they lost to the Nets. And last year, they lost to the
What round?
It was in the first round.
Okay. Right. The Celtics were terrible. They had nothing. It was just Tatum that series, right? I remember that. Okay. Boom, boom. Okay, go ahead. Now.
They lost last year's finals.
Right.
And that was it. They start this season 21-5.
So what are we talking about here? Practice of the real game. He was they as a rookie and a young kid with Brown as well. Mm-hmm. They lost to the team that went to the NBA Finals in the last game. Mm-hmm. The next year comes, they're together, completely without Kyrie, without it. They lose to the Bucks in the second round. All right, so we could say they regressed, but they still were in the hunt of things. The third year comes, they lost, like you said, is that the Toronto Raptors year? Because you said, who did the Celtics?
They lost to the Miami Heat in the conference finals in the bubble years.
In the bubble year. So they went, so now 2 out of 3 years, that core is in the Eastern Conference Finals. Bubble year or not, the Eastern Conference Finals. They lost to a buzzsaw Miami Heat. Buzzsaw. Because that is the bigged buzzsaw we've been talking about in sports in the last 6 years. What Miami did in the bubble is unbelievable. We
talked about this in early episodes back in 2020. Back when COVID was hot, back when the COVID spread was hot, then we couldn't go. Right. You couldn't go to the game even if you wanted to as a fan. So
come on now. So all right. So they go to the third round, 2 out of their first 3 years. The next year comes. Let's be no excuses or not. The next year comes. That Celtics team was decimated with injuries. Decimated. They didn't even have Brown in the first round like that at all. Tatum played that series almost by himself. They lost 4-1 to the Brooklyn Nets, who lost in the next round because Kevin Durant's sneakers too damn big. You know, but so all right, they lose that first round year. Then they go to the finals. I mean, this kid with Brown and them.
Oh yeah, we can't forget Al Horford too. They added this guy back. Al Horford made
it. If they stay healthy, man, the only team in the NBA right now, really, that I see that could beat them is the Milwaukee Bucks. But when Memphis is all together, Memphis probably could do it too. You know what I mean? They have potential to do it. And, you know, that's no disrespect to Denver and Phoenix and whoever, I forgot the other team that's at the top 3 in the Western Conference. And
Pelicans.
And now I like what they do.
You know what? I like that. To the Pelicans, you see the potential. I talk about how good Zion Williamson was going to be in the NBA, and look how he's doing right now, leading the Pelicans to one of the top teams in the Western Conference, at least early in the season.
I don't want to hear nobody ever. I am officially slapping people in 2023. I don't want to hear no crap about my Duke Blue Devils don't make good pros. That is the bunch of crap. That is the biggest bunch of crap I've ever heard in my life.
Zion Williamson was the top. Listen, Zion Williamson was the top of the town. I wanted the Knicks that year. I wanted the Knicks not to be good, so they can be positioned to draft this guy, and you know what happened from there.
I'm gonna say it again. Duke has 25 kids in the NBA now who are making an impact in the NBA. We have superstars, regular players, and role players that are all over the NBA playing well now, and they can go and Google and count it. Ingram, superstar. Zion, superstar. Kyrie, superstar. Gary Trent, solid NBA player. Quinn Cook won an NBA ring in the NBA as a role player.
Grayson Allen, good role player.
Pro. Thank you very much.
RJ Barrett wasn't Peter against the Celtics to begin the calendar year. And he's
Wendell Carter, pro.
As Kendrick Perkins said, the year once you can build a franchise around him somewhat at least.
Yes. Marvin Bagley, still a pro. Rodney Hood, still a pro. Pros. Team by team, go look at it. You know what I mean? We might not be
the NBA throughout the years.
Say it again.
What about the Duke players that made to the NBA throughout the years?
Oh man, there's plenty. There's plenty. We could be here all night talking about it. So, but that ideology always bothers me because it's like, first things first. It's not the college's job once the kid graduates or declares to the draft to make him a great player or a good player. It's his job to make himself a good player or a great player. So it doesn't matter if you went to Weber State or Duke University or North Carolina or Savannah State. It's up to you. If I send Rafique to college, and Rafique is my nephew per se, just hypothetically, and I send Rafique to college, and his major is supposed to make that team good.
It's up to me to put up good stats. Even if I never lead the team to a tournament, it's up to me to put up good stats and get my draft stock up.
But I'll simplify it. Not even sports. I send you Rafique to college to go, and you go for a sociology degree, and you graduate college with a sociology degree. Is it the college's job to get you a job when you finish, or is it your job?
To get the job. It's up to me to get a job. Point blank. They can put in a good word, but it's up to me to fill out the application. I was filling out applications before I even got on the air.
Right. So we are so stupid. And that's why when they do that, I really do that crap for North Carolina fans and all the other blue blood schools that like to jump to that crappy point every single time. I said, that's not an equation anymore. Stop talking to me about something you've seen 20 years ago. That's not the premise anymore. That has went out the window. Let's talk about what's going on now. And that's not a knock to North Carolina. North Carolina is one of the greatest basketball institutions in college basketball. They produce some of the greatest players, and they produce the greatest player in the history of basketball per se, to one or two, however we want to say it, because the guy in jersey you're wearing now too is pretty good. So there's Rasheed Wallace, Jerry Stackhouse, Vince Carter, Cole Anthony. I said that, the greatest player ever. It's not debatably the guy you're wearing on your jersey. So,
but he never played for
James Worthy. I said that Michael Jordan is the greatest player that went to North Carolina, or debatably the person you're wearing on your jersey. So we always can have the conversation about who's the greatest and who's not the greatest. Not saying that LeBron didn't go to any college, so we know that premising point. There's many things North Carolina has done that's great towards the game. But when the Kansas fans, these fans always try to lean, well, Duke don't make good pros. Well, where at? Name me, all right, from your school, as much as Kyrie's a problem, right? And a headache and with certain things, and there's a lot of things I do agree with him with. Name me any Kansas player that came out in the last 10 years that could beat Kyrie Irving.
Nobody.
Right. Name me any North Carolina player in the last 10 years that can mess with Kyrie Irving.
Nobody.
You see what I'm saying? Name me any one of them that's a generational talent like Zion Williamson. This guy was 722 pounds last year, and everybody's debating his talent and this and that. And he's absolutely transcending the New Orleans Pelicans with Brandon Ingram. Brandon Ingram went to college for 1 year.
Begin the season.
Come on, man. There's certain guys that went to Duke that when they left school, I cried. I'm like, no, stay. Please. We're trying to win a national championship. Please stay in school. Please. Please don't go. But I know they're going to go because the first time I seen Tatum play, I said, oh my God, this kid's going to be gone in 6 months. He's leaving.
The first time
he's leaving.
That's the same thing I thought when I first saw Zion Williamson. I was like, yeah, he's
gone.
Yeah, Zion is going to be LeBron chases generation. If the Knicks are not going to chase a playoff spot that season, they better take and be bad enough to try to get this kid, and they couldn't get it done.
What? When Brandon Ingram was there, Brandon Ingram, I seen.
Which is literally a cancellation prize for Zion Williamson.
When Brandon Ingram was at Duke, and I told my man, I said, I seen 2 games back on. I said, listen to me, that guy's a pro. He said, which I said, listen to me, he's a pro. He's gone. He's probably not even having any more classes. he's probably not even going to class no more. It's over. He's gone. He's not
okay. While we're on the subject of that's a perfect time to transition to some couple high school ballers that I saw that will go to.
Oh, man.
It's only because they played for overtime elite City Renters. I had a chance to witness them and record some footage. It's obviously you've seen on my Instagram account. I had a chance to walk down the South Shore and watch overtime elite City Renters beat down a Bronx high school team, 71, like 82 to. It was like, I believe it was 84 to 52.
81 to 57 or something like that.
Something like that. The way that the Thompson twins kept that team together on the fast break, pulled off a lot of serious windmill dunks and alley oops. Man, these guys are going to the pros. Both of them are gonna be in the top 5 in the next year's NBA draft.
Well, we'll see. I love those twins. The twins are
Talking spicy, did announcing on that game. I'm sure he told you how talented he was. I'm sure Shay Days, if you ever get a chance to talk to her, well, Shay Days, she was there. She felt that the event was, when I spoke to her about it, when I went there, it was like up and down. She was kind of feeling, it was kind of humid in there, but you know what? The entertainment was exciting. I mean, the overtime elite game, the City Rangers blasted that Bronx squad like crazy. Before that, obviously, no disrespect to Bodega, but Jared Dingle's South Shore boys squad could not take out Xavier. You saw the turnaround Xavier had at the end of the 3rd quarter.
Well, hold on. Let's get a couple things. Make sure we get this straight. Probably for the air. It's Zavarian High School in Brooklyn, New York.
Correction.
That Chris Mullen and many other kids have went to, and the Bronx school that they played was OSL, which is Our Savior Lutheran of the Bronx.
I said that Bronx high school team. I was
there's 700 Bronx high school teams. you're gonna get Cardinal Hayes, man. You're gonna get Wings Academy, man. You're gonna get Kennedy, Monroe, and all them two schools. They be like, man, I'm the Bronx. They're gonna be like, I'm happy that you went. That was the only reason I didn't go is because one of my good colleagues that I announced a lot of events for him, and we work together very hand in hand with Crunch Time, whatever else. My guy, Coach Pay, who we actually had Coach Payton on the show a minute ago, if you remember through the archives. He's the head coach, the JV coach at the St. Mary's of Long Island, and they played that same day against Kellenberg High School, where my little sister actually attended, and Kellenberg is literally like 2 blocks away from my job. So it was convenient for me to just go home right quick to the house, freshen up, boom, boom, and shoot back. I promised that I'd come out to a game to support because it's been this is 2nd year now in the JV game. So I went there instead of because I'm very good with Coach Blue, who's a key on the staff at South Shore. And, Mo Dingle's my guy. Jared plays for the team, so it's always never a problem to get down to South Shore if necessary to watch the game. But timing-wise, I probably would have got there like 5. I would have been in the building anyway. I'm good with the Nike guys or whatever. But I'm glad you got to go. It was a good showcase. South Shore lost, right?
Yeah, for the boys, for the boys' side, South Shore lost to Xavier. It was a close game. Obviously they were up by like 13 points, but they choked. And Xavier got hot.
Yeah. Well, Zavarian got some kids over there, man. They got some kids over there.
And you know what? Coach Cam, who used to coach the football team at my high school, Canarsie, he's coaching there now. He's coaching their football team. They coached the semifinals. But that's a conversation for another day. But anyways, sticking to this Nike Swoosh Classic, it was my first time actually covering a Nike event and trying to get some footage. And I even got a chance to interview that Nezek Muhammad kid from Severian. He told me that he told me like it was literally an honor to play in that game. and and to represent Brooklyn playing there. So yeah,
I think that was really cool and special how Nike coordinated with those guys to make it, because South Shore is always a nice gym. You look up, you see all the banners and the stuff anyway. But South Shore can get hot in the gym, and for them to make that, they set up that entranceway with the lights for them to walk in. I see like a little Titantron screen and everything. So Nike did very well at setting up the environment to make it very conducive for the family and the friends, and I thought that was phenomenal for the kids too. You can imagine how you feel as a high school kid, as a South Shore, as a very in the overtime elite, or OSL, and I forgot the other school. There was that a girls' game? Numati versus South Shore girls.
Yeah, South Shore, it was Numani Goria, Goriti. That's a team from Pennsylvania that came down to play South Shore's girls side, and Ario Little literally took over that team. They blasted that game was over since the second quarter. I promise you, they blasted them out.
Who won?
South Shore for the girls side. South Shore.
Oh, I'm about to say, because South Shore don't play, and my girl Sharisha's over there in the guard too. She about to be the next best thing up there. I'm telling you.
Ario Little has the potential to be the second coming of Chelsea Craig.
Wow, look at that.
Okay.
So, but it was a great classic. I'm glad you got to cover that, and I'm so happy that you went. That was a cool, super environment. I was watching through you and through somebody else, basically, that was going on. And I was like, wow, just the whole way they set up that dark, gloomy look for the kids, and how it was really cool.
The dress code is black, so I mean, I literally came out wearing black, even though I have a blue coat on, and I couldn't really record the girls' game because my battery was kind of low at that point, and I want to save it up for the overtime lease game, because you know what, even though that's like literally a rare time I get a chance to see an overtime elite team play in the borough of Brooklyn, so I had to be down there. It may look neat with not getting a paycheck, but you know what, to get coverage like this, I mean, that's why you're seeing highlights of that game literally like really overlapping this. There's a lot of crazy highlights happening that overtime. Those kids could ball.
Yeah, they got a program of the top kids. They practice and play together, so they're gonna have a good showing. That's still good. A victory, good not moral victory per se, but that's still good for OSL. Remember, OSL National plays an intense schedule. They don't play no cop. This is OSL, the type of school that I have like a Monteverde on the schedule, a IMG, a Provincetown for Texas, an overtime elite. They play all those type of schools to get them ready for that national schedule, because this is the type of school that's getting invited to that national tournament thing to have a chance to do that. And we know the type of kids that's been there. Pasha Alexander went to OSL. He's at St. John's. Dylan Wusso went to OSL National. He's at St. John's. They've had many kids that went through there and are big collegiate players or collegiate players. So that's not a bad. It's a bad loss, but not a bad loss. Overtime elite is stacked, bro. Overtime elite goes for the best top kids to an extent, or develop like those two kids, the twins. They've been with overtime elite for a while. They've been dogging for a while, and of course, with our guys,
been around for a few years,
right? Like 5-6 years, but they're 2 years in. You know what I mean? And they have the connection and the chemistry with the teammates and the guys. So we know through Talk Spicy that we've been watching quietly, over camera. You were just blessed, God bless you, to be there in person to see overtime elite play. That's a strong squad, man.
Yeah, I wish you could have came down. I wish I would have came down. You could came down, but just based on the reason you mentioned, obviously, well, there's always next year. But next year they better bring it to Canarsie. I mean, I get it. Both the boys and girls side for South Shore, they wore the PSAL championships at the Barclays Center. I get it. I understand why they did it that way. I get why it happened at South Shore, but the Canarsie needs wishing that they did it in Canarsie, so I had to go all the way there around the nighttime.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Think about this exposure. Overtime elite, that high school team, some of those kids, they were the kids, especially those two twins they played, they were in the TBT challenge. The TBT challenge are grown men playing for this $1 million. Yeah.
Overtime basketball tournament. Wow.
The TBT thing that just passed this summer, overtime elite was in it. They lost their first game and only game. So they weren't whatever back again, but they were in it. They put them in it the kids thought that they had the potential, plus the coaches wanted to see that if they could play against them. Because remember, overtime elite is just not 15, 16-year-old kids. You got 17, 18, 19. I'm saying playing for
They
this.
competed
So the
against
ones that
the Sun recently.
right. So they put them to play in that. They lost, but it was great exposure. They actually played a very good team that does very well all the time. And those two twin kids played. So those kids are ready, man. Those kids are ready for that next step.
Yeah, they're ready for the next step. And you know what? As much as you want to see, man, this is going to be very interesting to see how these kids are going to come up when they make it to the NBA.
All right.
Literally. Oh yeah, you know what? I already mentioned earlier. Canarsie, they're going to be going up against Erasmus Hall in Springfield High School, all the way up in Queens. 1 p.m. I haven't had a chance to go watch the last two playoff rounds where they literally rail run, where the last round they literally took out Curtis and then they rail run Midwood. So yeah. When I look at that, when I look at Canarsie, their football team gives me vibes of that 07 championship run. I mean, I don't know if you followed Canarsie football back in your day, you were younger, but if you watched Canarsie football this year, you know it took them a little while before they got to this championship status, and it's exciting. Canarsie football is live right now.
Canarsie is lit.
And I wish them the best of the championship run against E Hall. Yeah. So
Flatbush versus Canarsie. How nice.
Yeah, I've walked down that school. I mean, Erasmus Hall, it really feels like they really don't really look like high school.
Church and Flatbush, baby. Get different over there. Erasmus Hall, they got a decent basketball team too. They balling out.
Yeah, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Well, that wrap up this episode. Nothing but that sports. So thank you for coming back to the show, Ryan. And
that's it.
This snippet on the next episode, we're going to have Dressler Henry, who's a reporter for New York Post and SNY, on the next episode or future episodes. Well, pending that he's not able to make it because of such and such, but somehow, some way, he'll come on so we can talk more Jets football as well as elaborate on his experience in the journalism field. I got a chance to watch him in a sports journalism panel with Renee Washington. She did a phenomenal job putting it together. I'm done some stuff for her, and also don't forget to check out my interview with Rachel Eva, who interviewed Earl the Pearl Monroe, who went to Winston-Salem State at the Harlem Renaissance Classic. And she go talk about her basketball career, her book, My Little Tomboy. You can go to the Pension Not Buried page to check it out. So, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Also too, well, tomorrow, Saturday, it's like gonna be December 10th. I'll be at Island Garden. I'm announcing for the New York Court Kings. That's another one of the local teams out. I got a semi-pro league that I do for. So they're gonna have a Christmas giveaway, a raffle, and everything, stuff and giveaways for the kids for the holiday season. So we're gonna have a nice little thing going on there at Island Garden. Doors open at 7. Game time is at 8. We're gonna have halftime show. It's gonna be really good. So we're gonna be there with the New York Court Kings, and by January, most likely, we got crunch time, getting prepared and getting loaded. So that will be coming very, very soon, and we'll have the Winter League going on. It's the best egg going on for our pro-am. So we're working and loading on that. But Saturday, I'm definitely announcing I'll be out there live and direct. So we'll see how that one works out with the New York Court Kings.
And good luck on everything you do in crunch time, the New York Court Kings. That wraps up this episode. Nothing but the sports talk. Get your head in the game.